Hello, everybody. Today we have an exciting episode. We are going to be talking about traditional roles and how Chelsea and I have found to balance these traditional roles in our homes with our personal goals and just kind of how we balance family and keeping that traditional role in our home. So here we go. Welcome to Good Morning Mama. We're two instant best friends with a combined 13 children, ages newborn to 16, talk about all things motherhood. Our new mom versus seasoned mom dynamic will leave you laughing, and our Christian values and positive outlooks will leave you inspired. So grab your coffee, pull up a chair, and enjoy our visit. Okay, so you and I are both kind of unique homemakers in a way because we are stay-at-home moms. um, we don't work outside of the home right now, but we have in the past. And we also have businesses from our homes while we are maintaining our homes, being a homemaker. And so, I feel like there's no one size fits all option for a homemaker role, but the way that we have found to balance it does seem to work well for both of us and for our families. So, do you want to go ahead and talk about how do you find to manage your role as a homemaker in addition to having a home business? And maybe also we can talk about our previous jobs that we've had outside of the home before all of this.
Yeah. So before I was a homemaker, I was in real estate for like over a decade. I worked in single family residential real estate investment. So I worked as an operator for large investment firms like Colony Capital and KKR Beezer and like big firms that were deploying a lot of money. And I worked in the investor relations space. And then I also worked in the operations space. And we managed a portfolio at one point of over 1,500 homes. And I was probably involved in the negotiations of like $500 million of raising capital. So I learned a lot, and it was a new asset class and a new space. It was started in 2012. I started that and started to work. And so started I went to school for international studies, and then I got a job as a receptionist at a real estate investment firm and just flew from there.
Yeah.
And I started a few businesses. I started a private equity firm to raise capital for smaller boutique real estate investors, and did well with that. And then I also started my own real estate investment firm where we went and we invested in low income areas in Columbus, Ohio, and we focused on affordable housing and nonprofit help for those within low income communities and providing different services. And then when I decided I wanted to, I always wanted to be a mom, and I really always wanted to be a homemaker. And I was just kind of waiting to find the right partner to do that with. And I was fortunate enough to fall in love with my husband, Robert Rizzo. I love him so much. And he's in the auto business. And he's been in the auto business. His family's been in for, his mom's father was in the business, and then
Oh,
his father
wow.
was in the business, and now
Yeah,
he's in the business.
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's a whole family thing.
Yeah.
Very successful, and they've made some really good choices, and my husband's made some great choices that has afforded us the opportunity that I am able to stay home and take care of the family and focus. And I think that transition for me, it happened before we had children. When we moved from California to Florida, I was able to be a stay-at-home wife, and then we started to try for Kaya. But
Was that a hard transition for you to go from working and managing, huge accounts to being just in the home? Was that hard for you or was it surprisingly easy?
it's surprisingly easy, honestly, because I was able to look at it as a priority shift to
Mhm.
where okay, my focus is no longer on building my own career, but building a life for our family together. So while my priority isn't going out and fully making, the money myself, it's supporting my husband and being able for him to do that and creating an environment in which when he comes home, he has his needs met when it's like it's a serene environment that he can like think, and we can have fun and we can play, and all of those aspects are covered. The children, now that we have children, are taken care of. The house is tended to. There's not that kind of a worry, so it gives the opportunity for him to be able to focus on building the wealth and generationally taking care of our family that way.
Yeah.
And I trust him to do that wholeheartedly. If I didn't, I wouldn't make those, I wouldn't have married him. And he trusts me to take care of our house and the home. And I think that division of labor is really helpful in understanding that those roles approach. And I mean, it's the same thing like when I was building businesses before. I had a division of labor. I was the chief operating officer, and I had a CEO that I worked with, and that guy made the certain financial decisions. It was a business relationship, but to me, it's kind of similar that the division of labor is necessary no matter where you are. And I just like being home and taking care of those certain things. And so it was an easier transition for me than I anticipated. I actually very much enjoyed it. And then having children now, even though I feel like we've become kind of some superwoman when we when we have kids,
Yeah.
there's a freedom in being able to trust the fact that the lights will be on and food will be on the table. And I now have the freedom to solely focus on the children, the happiness of our home, the happiness of our relationship, the roots and the foundation of who we are as a whole, as a family, the cohesiveness. And I have that kind of ability to just breathe. And with that priority shift of the kids and the family are first for me, and of course they are for my husband too, but for me, my focus and my day-to-day tasks and my labor, that's my number one. And then when I have extra room in there, then I can create fun businesses and do things that I enjoy doing and just so happen to be able to make money at them. But it's not out of a necessity to survive. And
Right.
for
It's
me,
like out of creativity and just fun. Yeah.
yeah.
That's beautiful. I like how you like worded that, how, you have, your separation of duties, just like in other businesses, because I think that works well for us too. But it's not typical in today to have
No.
that type of structure in a home. And I've always thought that was interesting because it was not something we really talked about. It just kind of fell into place where, I mean, I was the same as you. I worked outside of the home for 12 years, and we had 6 kids actually whenever I became a stay-at-home mom,
Yeah.
just because my husband was in residency and I had to work during that time. I was like the main breadwinner during that time, and
Well,
I
for
did
those that
enjoy my
don't
job.
know, your husband's a neurosurgeon.
Yes, yes. And so he's practicing now, but we were together through medical school and then residency. And so during those years of training, they don't make much money. And I'm sure we could have sacrificed and we could have made it work. But we wanted our grandparents to also like be with us while we were raising our kids. And the model we wanted required me to also work. And I had my master's degree in health administration. And so I enjoyed using that degree and being in hospital administration. And I also taught college courses at the same time.
That's so
And
cool.
I know it is crazy to think about now. And we had 6 kids, and I did maintain our home. There was a lot going on. But even back then, we still had those separation of duties. Like it wasn't, and I was still working outside of the home, but it wasn't where, today's your day to load the dishwasher, or I need your
Yeah.
help to, do the laundry today. Like those house duties were always mine to do. And I had freedom to do anything inside the home that I thought was right for the kids. Like, do I sign them up for sports, or sign them up for this activity, or do I decorate this way, or whatever it was? Like everything under our home was like, I had free reign to do that. And then, his job was, you just focus on residency. And I feel like in that partnership, kind of like what you were saying, that allowed us both to just flourish because
Yeah.
he was able to, like, you focus on your career because that's our big picture. That's very important for us. And I will focus on our family and our home and everything else. And of course, like if I needed help with whatever, he's glad to do it if I ask, but I just never really asked, to for help
Yeah.
in those areas. But we're the same kind of way as far as that structure. And there's not really a right or wrong way, but this is like the only way that I know and that and it just works really, really well.
Yeah. And I think for me, because I am such a control freak, no, I'm just kidding.
You own it, right?
I'm working on it, but I like things done a certain way with the kids. And I think there's no bigger calling or better calling. I've always wanted to be a mom.
Yeah.
There's nothing more important in this world than being a mother to me. And I believe and truly believe that molding those children in their minds is extremely critical.
Yes.
And it's my biggest priority. And I think that I have a different set of skills than my husband does when it comes to nurturing our children and patience and being able to handle a different kind of stress load. While I may not handle, a financial stress load the same way that he does, I know that he definitely can't handle being screamed at and called in 25 different directions by, toddlers and not kind of like getting a little bit.
We have our own skill sets
Yeah,
for sure.
we have our own skill set, and I am totally okay with that. And I don't listen, I don't judge anybody that doesn't do it this way because I want everybody to be happy in the world, and they do things their own way. The way that I grew up, my mother worked. She was a single mom. My parents were divorced. My stepmom, she worked. She was very, my mom was a paralegal, and and they still both work. My stepmom was the first Black female executive at a large aerospace company. My dad's a very large executive in aerospace company. They both have like their MBAs and master's degrees and are very successful people. And they chose to both work and to have children and raise their children that way. And they're very successful in that. And I see that it was, I learned amazing things from those examples, and I'm proud of them, and they were happy doing it. For me, it was going to be too hard. I just couldn't be, because my stepmom and my mom were both homemakers as well while doing these amazing things.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about that kind of juggling and balancing act, and I have a lot of respect for it. But I
Mm-hmm.
see that there's a sacrifice somewhere. You can't always get everything done, and
Yeah.
typically in those situations, the sacrifice becomes the mother sacrifices herself. So
Yeah.
something's going to break. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that that's what they did, but I could see that she wouldn't do certain things for herself to make sure that things were done within the home appropriately or at work appropriately, and stress levels were high. And so I just think that for me, I wanted to find a different approach to that, and I just kind of got comfortable in this traditional role that just worked for my husband and for me. And in today's society, I think that it's typically very frowned upon to be
Yeah.
a
Do you find
traditional wife.
that the word homemaker, or just saying that you are a homemaker, like when you fill out forms, sometimes that's on there, sometimes it's not. Sometimes
That's
it's
such a
only
good
like
point.
you're
Yeah.
unemployed. It's like you either are working or you're unemployed, and it's like I'm not unemployed, I'm a homemaker. Or I. But
Yeah.
do you think that it's looked down upon, like it's looked like less than almost
A
in
thousand
society
percent.
today? And I can't
Um,
figure out why, because biblically, and even not biblically, like even people that if you just know what a homemaker does, like I honestly feel like it is the most important ministry and job that anybody could have. And my
I
husband
agree.
would even agree with that. And he's a neurosurgeon. He thinks that my job is more important than his. But I mean, I feel like it's not respected as much as it should be in our society today.
I 1,000% agree.
Yeah.
And it is kind of sad to fill out like
Mm-hmm.
the unemployed
Right?
checkbox. It aggravates me a little bit.
I know. It's like, wait.
There was a stat like in doing a little bit of research before this podcast that like the average stay-at-home housewife, if you had a mom, if you had to pay for the things that she does, would make $170,000 a
I've
year.
seen
Like,
those.
yeah.
Yeah,
So we do a lot of work.
exactly.
It's extremely labor intensive. But I think, yeah, I do think that it's looked down upon. I think that it's like either seen as, well, you must have so much money that you don't need, like, that you're just one of those like rich Range Rover moms,
Yeah.
or you just don't want to work and contribute to society, is how I've heard it
Yeah.
phrased both ways, and you just don't want to do anything with your life, which
Right.
I think is really sad, because I think that children need their moms. I know my mom was home. She worked from home. She found a way. And I know that it was critical for me. I needed her at times. And I'm not saying that moms that do work aren't there for their children. That's not what I'm saying at all, because I know that they are. I just know that it's more difficult. I think that being a mom, and both a stay-at-home mom and a working mom, is hard. And so
Yeah.
there's things that
I
come.
remember when I worked, I always felt a tug. I remember always feeling that. And then when I became a stay-at-home mom, I just remember feeling like that wasn't there anymore. And it was so
Yeah.
freeing. Like when I was working, I always felt that I should be doing more at home. And I just always felt guilty for not being at home more. And my
Right.
kids were being, they were with my mom and they were fine. We had family care for them. So we were blessed for in that. But I always felt guilty for not being there. And I even would tell my mom, like, if my baby takes her first steps when I'm not there, just don't
Yeah.
tell me. I can't handle it.
Yeah.
But then the same would be true. Like if I was at home, I'd feel guilty for not being at work more because there was so much work to do. And I loved my job and I wanted to do, stay that extra hour to finish that one extra thing.
Right.
But I always just felt this tug and it was so hard for me. And I remember crying sometimes on my commute. It was like a 30-minute commute and I would just cry because of that tug of like, I'm not doing enough at home. I'm not doing enough at work. And I just felt that, even though no one thought that except for myself. I put it on myself.
Right.
But when I became a stay-at-home mom, and we actually didn't even make that decision until we moved here. And I thought I would work at the hospital that my husband works at, but then it just didn't make sense at all for me to work at that point because we were expecting our seventh baby. He was done with residency at that point, and I just my job was very much needed at home. But I remember just that feeling of like my job now is this. Like I get to do this every day. And I feel like that feeling has stuck with me to this day because of being a working mom at one point and now I'm a stay-at-home mom. I feel like instead of saying like I have to do this or I have to do laundry or this mess, like I get to do this. And it's
Right.
like so exciting to me that I like my only responsibility, which is a huge responsibility. Yes, it is. But it's just this home and these people in it. And that is like anything extra, like our
Yep.
businesses and my home businesses and everything I do is secondary to that. And it's once the family and the home is taken care of, like you said.
A thousand
But
percent.
it's so like exciting to me that like I get to do this, and I
I
love it
think
so
that
much.
mind shift is the priority shift that I was talking about too, and you said it way better, is I get to do this. I don't have to do this. And having
Yeah.
that luxury and looking at it as a luxury, because I
Mm-hmm.
believe that it
Yeah.
um, is incredible.
Yeah.
I think that that's exactly right. That you get to, even I get to clean up the throw up from my baby that's
Right.
all over me and get all of the craziness and yelled at and screamed at and the hair pulled and everything. I get to do that because there could be alternative situations. I mean, I can't even be away from my kid. This is the
You can't even
extended
go to the
period of
bathroom
time.
without your kids crying for you. I mean, how could you work outside the home?
The
Oh
fact
my
that I'm
goodness.
able to record these podcasts is like beyond
Seriously.
me.
Well, people behind the scenes, we should even tell people for us to do this, we plan days and days in advance. Like there's a
Yeah.
lot of planning that goes in to
Mhm.
us sitting here for, an hour at a time.
I have my
So,
mother-in-law sitting with
yes,
one's napping, and then the other one is sitting with her, sitting with Cashton.
yes.
So there's a lot of planning.
In a way, like I view like our podcast and any other fun thing that we are doing above and beyond homemaking is almost like a reward in a way. Like I feel
Yep.
like it's like, okay, I've gotten my laundry done and my dishes done, and I'm at a point now where I can do fun things. Like this is my
Yes.
reward for getting all
It's
of
like
the
a
basics done
self-care.
today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a self-care, and I'm
Hmm.
I'm excited to be able to share, like, we had a really successful day with Kaya and Cash for the fundraiser for Homebody.
Yes.
And so I'm able to, I take a screenshot of it and I share it with my husband. I'm like, look, it's
Yes.
like a fun hobby, very exciting things. And it's like, that's great, babe.
Hmm.
But like, it's like, I
Yeah.
don't know, it's exciting.
It is exciting. And that's one thing I think that I know I get asked a lot on our page. Like, I mean, women genuinely want to know. I mean, whether they're working or not, like they're still homemakers because they are home. They have
Yeah.
children, they have a home, they're still maintaining that. But they want to know, how do you not get burnt out? How do you find joy in homemaking? Like they really want that, and they want to know, like, what is the secret to that? And I've said many different answers to that question. um and you might have a better answer for it too, but I feel like it 100% comes from within, and it's a perspective that you have to have in looking at your home and your children and your duties. um and it just changes the way you see it.
1,000%.
Yeah.
And I think also to acknowledge the reality of it is that I do get burnt out sometimes. Being
And
this
that's
pregnant,
okay.
or I'm nine
Yeah.
months pregnant, I have two toddlers under the age of two, well,
Mhm.
two and one. And so sometimes we have some really sleepless nights,
Yeah.
and when they're sick and all of that, and it's all on me, and it's a 24-hour clock,
Yeah.
and you're just like no break.
Yeah.
It can be hard. 1,000%. It is the hardest job I've
And
ever
that's
had.
okay.
And it's
Yeah.
okay to admit that, because I
Yeah.
used to not want to admit that at all and be like, no, I'm perfect. I'm fine. Everything's good. It's great. It's not. It's hard.
You're
But
normal.
taking a second and a shower, I don't know why I keep going back to it, but
Yeah.
showers are miracle workers right now.
It kind of resets.
Yes, taking a shower or sitting down and having a minute with God and meditating, or just putting on a good song, or having a cup of
Yes.
coffee to yourself, just getting that 5 minutes alone and resetting, and making sure that you're checking your mindset all of the time, and that, like, time goes by so fast and the kids grow up so quickly and it happens so rapidly, that being able to approach it again with that mindset shift and saying, I get to do this and I get to, like, impact somebody else's life immediately is, I don't know, that's what gets me through for sure. And that's what makes it exciting for me.
That's good advice.
Okay,
And you're so
sorry.
right about all of those tips, but music is huge too. I've noticed that. Like if we're, just all feeling kind of off for a day, if I put music on, it just makes the mood better and everything, then all of a sudden you're sweeping, and you're
Yeah,
kind of, you have a pep in your step more than before. And yeah, sometimes you just need
absolutely.
to, yeah, take a
Getting the
minute.
kids in water too helps too.
Yes. Yeah.
I
It is
throw them
so
in the
true.
shower or the bath midday. I don't know.
Add
Could
water
be
for
their
kids and
age.
they are happy.
I
It
don't
is
think you could do that with Jenna, but
the
might be
little ones.
a
The older ones are easy. It's the little ones that are all of
little.
our work for
Yeah.
sure. Oh my goodness. I was in preparing for our episode, I did some screenshots from Bible verses about homemaking, and a lot of people know these, but they're so good. Like, Titus 2, 3 through 5 says, it says, he tells young women that they should love their husbands and children, be working at home and submissive to their husbands, that the word of God may not be reviled. But I think that the word submissive and just that model has kind of been skewed in today's um, society. Like I
Mhm.
feel like, the view that like your husband is the head of the household, the women is submissive to their husbands, they're the helpmeet, that term has a negative connotation in today's society, when it's not an abusive situation like it has been portrayed in society. It's actually a beautiful model that works so well. If women, I feel like, could just like lean into it instead of like fighting against it. I feel like it's not what society makes it's actually a really beautiful model.
I agree. And I think to elaborate on that a little bit is, for me, I have to trust that my husband has the best intentions, trust and know that he has the best intentions for our family, and we're on the same page, and our communication is like we overly communicate what the goals are for our family. We're constantly talking about that we're on the same page, and we're constantly working towards the same place that we want to be. And so the division of labor is just a means in which to get there. Mm-hmm. He is the CEO of our family. He's the leader of our family. There's a freedom in that for me, but I trust him, and the way that he treats me is with the servant's heart. And I think that also needs to be acknowledged, that he is, I know that I am, and the children are his whole world. And so everything could be crashing down around us, and he will protect, love, serve me. And I know that. So knowing and trusting in that, like you said, so long as it's not an abusive relationship.
Like where they're saying, I am the leader, it's not like that at all.
No, it's a very healthy dynamic,
loving.
and it's a freeing dynamic towards like, okay, you're going to take care of that. I'm going to take care of this.
Yeah.
I think that it's been a little bit like perverted in the use of that word has been misconstrued in today's society. I think that you're right, that I'm super comfortable saying that I'm submissive to my husband 1,000%, because he has a servant's heart towards me, and he loves me the way that he loves the Lord, right? I know that he loves me deeply and has our best interests at heart. He talks to me like I'm a peer. It's not like I'm up here, you're down there.
Right.
So and that's huge. You, Chelsea.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. It's a communicative and collaborative relationship.
I agree. Another verse that I came across was Psalms 128:3. It says, your wife shall be like a fruitful vine in the very heart of your house. And I love that, because I feel that is so true. Like when a woman is secure and comfortable and has that like free reign of her home and that trust of her husband to run the home, I feel like amazing things happen from that, because she can thrive. Like she is like a vine in the heart of the home that beautiful fruits come from, because she is healthy and she's happy and she's able to be creative and do things without fear. I feel like that's a beautiful analogy.
Living in our feminine energy. I like, this whole thing of toxic masculinity and, men being awful. I may have to rephrase
we're not against each other. We can be on the same team.
We can be on the same team and just play different parts. And that's how it works in my house, that I would much rather, like, I'm sorry, I'm just not attracted to a man that isn't very like masculine. Like that just is. And that gives
I will say I came home the other day and my husband was mopping the floor, and I took a video.
That is very nice.
It's really cute. Yeah. But it never happened.
That is very nice. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that.
Right?
But overarching, having the trust and knowledge that he's going to protect our family and provide for our family, that like there's a piece of that I just feel very comfortable with. And it gives me the freedom to be feminine and be nurturing and be free to be able to like take care of our home and take care of our kids and be softer. I know when I was just working and starting businesses and focused solely on that, I was a much harsher person to be around. I was very critical. I had to be this more aggressive.
You were like in boss mode.
Yeah. And I can still tap into that for sure. Right. And I like that piece of me and I need it here and there, but knowing that my husband has my back and he's kind of like that piece makes me feel more secure.
I agree. How do you find time to invest in your marriage and focus on God and your husband when you do have small children? We've covered this in like other episodes, but in that model, of God, husband, family, kids can be all consuming and they're amazing. Kids are wonderful, but they don't intend to do this. But if we let them, and if we don't have set boundaries and structure, they can take everything that we have and leave nothing for our ourselves and our spouses. How do you manage that?
Priority.
Yeah.
Um, I,
Intention, right?
I intentionally, so, um, my husband and I, the kids have a strict bedtime.
Mhm.
And of course, things change, life happens. It's not always.
Yeah.
But to the best of our ability, the kids are in bed asleep at 8. And from 8 to 9, my husband and I have time to phones off. We're concentrated on each other. We're talking, we're watching a movie, we're whatever we may be doing.
Yeah.
That's us. It's very intentional. Date night once a week, 1,000%. And it's not going out all the time because sometimes I'm 1,000% pregnant and like
Yeah.
it's not gonna
You don't
happen.
want to.
And I'm
Yeah.
tired and I just want to lay in bed with you.
Yes.
And
But
then
it's still quality time and it's
weekend
intentional. Yeah.
mornings, I make sure that once when the kids are like eating and settled, they get a treat, they get TV time, they're strapped in, they're focused, they're okay. And I go and I lay in bed with my husband and we like sleep in
Yeah.
and we just like lay together and talk and have pillow talk. And it's a very intentional time.
Yeah.
And every aspect, honestly, every aspect of like my day, like what I'm going to make for dinner, what I'm going to, what we're going to do, we have a pretty same routine because of the kids.
Yeah.
But it's like where we're going to go eat, if we're going to go out to eat or what we're going to eat for dinner. I always ask my husband, I'm not asking my kids. That's like,
Yeah.
like, I mean, of course there's treat days and things, but the priority to me, and it might change as the kids get older, but the priority to me is what's going to make my husband happy makes me happy. So we share that together and we have that camaraderie together. And then the kids can adjust in every other aspect of our
That's so
life as
healthy.
kids.
And it's good for the kids to see that too. Like they know daddy comes first, like, mom and dad, their time is their time. And then we will come next. And they know that. And I think that's healthy.
My husband makes it a point too, when he comes home, he always kisses me first
Yeah.
and kisses me goodbye last.
Yeah.
Always. And it's like, okay, let me kiss mommy. Let's go together. Let's kiss mommy. And it's like very much we want them to grow up seeing a very healthy dynamic together, that we are the unit, because the reality is the kids grow up and they leave the house and then what happens?
They're going
Like,
to do what they know. And that's what they know.
yeah. And then, but then what happens to our marriage? If
Right.
it's
Oh
been
yeah. And
about
that
our
too. The
kids,
empty nest syndrome.
so we have to make sure that we're somewhat of our priority and on the same page. What do you and
Yeah.
Lucas do?
Same type of thing. I mean, it's about just like that. We don't necessarily have date night in, but once the kids are in bed, we have our older kids that it's so sweet. I actually look forward to this time every day. Like when Lucas and I are sitting in bed together, he might be watching TV, I might be on my phone, whatever, but we're still together. And the older kids and sometimes the younger kids, not like the babies that are in their crib sleeping, but they'll just come in almost like one on one and they will visit with us. And a lot of times they'll sit in between us or they'll sit at the foot of the bed and we just visit. But even so, like we're still together, we're still talking. And it's time that we just always have every single day. And it's like our favorite time.
Yeah,
So we just have to
I
be
love that.
intentional and every once in a while, we'll, if Jenna's home, we'll have her stay with the kids and we'll take off and in our sports car and drive and go get some
Yeah.
ice cream or something like that, just quick and come home. Um, but we always make sure that, our, we put each other first and then the kids in a healthy way. So like the kids never
Yeah.
feel less than or second, but
No, of
they know
course
that
not.
like our foundation is our marriage, God and our marriage, and that needs to come first, and then
Mm-hmm.
everything beautiful can happen after that. So I
Absolutely.
think so too.
I think it's
How do
critical.
you manage? So you and I both are unique in that, I mean, we are stay-at-home moms, we are, housewives, homemakers, but we also have this entrepreneurial mind. I
Yeah.
mean, think of it as, it's a blessing and a curse. Give it,
Right.
but it just, we have this creative mind and it won't stop. It just goes and goes and goes. And we've both turned that into businesses from our home. And we look forward to these things. We love it. How have you found to manage that and your businesses and just all your ideas, but also maintain your family and your priorities as a homemaker?
So at the beginning of this year, my husband and I, we set out to like to have certain goals for our generational wealth creation and things that we wanted to accomplish together to build for our kids.
Did you have like a business meeting, or how did you establish?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we do. We have quarterly business meetings.
I love that.
We have monthly business meetings with our 19-year-old, my
So cool.
bonus son,
Yeah,
to see, because that he's like on track and he can see what's going on
yeah.
with the family
And
and
he's a
our
young man.
business.
He's about to start his
Yeah,
own life. Yeah.
exactly. So we want to teach him certain money management things and
Mhm.
investment things. So we go through that all together. But yeah, we set certain goals as a family, and part of that, in my way that I wanted to contribute, because we keep having children,
Yeah.
is I wanted to, after we had our medical emergency with Cashton, and we decided to start Kaya and Cash, and it started to become successful, and I realized that it is going to be a viable business and we can do things for our family with these profits, that it was an important time shift for me to allocate 10 to 15 hours a week to that. And so we agreed that I was going to be doing that, and we talked about it together. So I didn't feel as much of a mom guilt or
Yeah.
even like a wife guilt, because it was out in the open, like, this is what I'm going to be doing. So I set that expectation and we agreed to it.
I love that.
um, and my husband was like, just remember, like, this isn't for us to survive. You don't if it fails, it's okay, like,
Yeah.
don't worry about it. But he's
Nice
supportive
that you have
of
that
it.
freedom. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I just got really lucky finding you
Oh,
and being having a business partner that has the same outlook on being a mom and has been there and is going through the
we are
similar
a very good
things.
team.
Yeah, that if I'm like, hey, I'm way too pregnant, or my kids like are going nuts and they need me, or hey, I'm living away from my husband on the weekdays
Yeah.
now, so I need to spend the weekends with him, like, I'm shutting the phone off. You understand, it's not like a push 9 to 5. We can figure,
No.
we just
Yeah.
reassess,
Yep.
so it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
um and I think that I bring my kids in on a lot of it, and I
Mhm.
just, not that there's much that they can do, but I do it with our 19-year-old, with Caden. So I bring him in on anything and everything that we're doing, whether it's buying real estate or our e-commerce businesses, or anything else that we're kind of doing and have in the works. I bring him in on it and offer him to join in as a part of it, and I
I
think
love
that
that.
that's fun. So
Yeah.
make it a family thing.
Exactly. I think that is so good. And a lot of times, even the little kids, if you bring them along, they're not thinking that this is mommy's work. I mean, this is fun for them, but then
Yeah.
eventually they'll realize like, oh, this is cool. Like I see this, I can see how this model works and this is cool.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
mhm.
You were telling me a story about how you were talking to Sam about certain things that you and I have in the works. And you were telling him about, like, okay, this is how we're going to be doing it. And you were excited
Yes,
about it, right? It was Sam, right?
exactly.
Or was it
It was
Liam?
Sam. No, it was Sam. He was asking, like, because you and I talk all the time about all these ideas and things that we're doing. And he said, well, how does this work? Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? And I just went on and on and on and on and on. And it probably was like, woo. And he's like, whoa, I had got more than I asked for. But he's
Yeah.
like, that's cool, mom. Like, that's really cool. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
it is cool. Because, it is fun to be at home and be able to do your role as a homemaker and have the support of your spouse, but then also have that creative outlet to do those things. It's really rewarding. And I mean, yes, I could be a homemaker without any of this and it would
Right.
be rewarding, but for me, just the way I am like hardwired, I it doesn't feel like work to me. This is just fun energy almost that
Yeah,
I'm able to,
exactly.
do. And so I love having that balance of, being a homemaker, but also having a home business. And we're just at a place where it just feels like this is a really good routine and it's just working really well for our family. Just kind of this.
1,000%. And I
Mhm.
think one of the misconceptions of being like a traditional housewife and stay-at-home mom is that you lose yourself as a priority. And I think that that's like a not
I've
true
heard
at
that too.
all. And I think by having these in today's world, especially, we can do a lot from home. We can do a lot quickly. There's communities out there that you can participate in. Like there's a lot of different avenues you can
Mhm.
create um your hobbies and monetize them, and all kinds of like fun things that you can do as
Yeah.
a mom,
Yeah.
and still maintain like your identity. Like doing these new creative outlets that make money with them is
Yeah.
really a cool thing and a way to maintain yourself. And I think that that's a way for me, like you were saying, to not lose my entrepreneurial spirit or my business
Yeah.
mind, or to not feel, because sometimes the mundane tasks of being a stay-at-home mom are mundane, and they get
Yeah.
like your brain turns to mush.
It's hard to believe that they are the most important thing. Like we know that they are, but
Yeah.
in the moment you're like, God, this really can't be the most important thing, changing diapers over and over and
Right.
over. But
Yes.
it is, you know?
So I think that
Yeah.
it's cool to find a way to still fill our cups
Yeah.
and self-care through working together, but doing it in a way that we can still maintain the priority of the changing of the diapers, that it
Yes.
doesn't feel as mundane because we're filling our cup in a different way. Does that make sense? I rambled a
It,
little bit on that one,
no,
but
it makes perfect sense. And one thing that came to mind when you were saying that is I feel like I have learned so much becoming a full-time stay-at-home mom that I never thought that I would learn. Like my kids teach me, in my role as a homemaker teaches me so much more than I could ever have taught myself or have taught my kids. Do you think that too?
well, yeah, because I never had to. The only time I can compare it to is when I was a waitress or bartender through stay with me,
Yeah.
through college, when I was working my way through college, and I had to think 10 steps ahead of a stranger. Now I have to think 10, 20 steps ahead of a toddler, and the risks are much graver because
Yeah,
he wants to like
right?
dive off the side of a couch or like go into a
Yeah.
pool or whatever.
Like
So
a
I
risk
have,
manager. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And the way that I have to like think and think rapidly, or packing to like go away for
Yep.
3 weeks when you're
And
9 months
have like
pregnant,
60 tabs open at all times.
all times, and the capacity that my brain has is insane. But being able to like foresee things in a
Yeah.
totally different way that I never knew was capable is so helpful in business, because we can get I think we've launched three business ventures right together,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
we've been three. Yeah. And we've been friends and together for less than 3 months,
Just a few months. Yeah.
just a few months. And we've done that. And they've, all of them have made money so far,
Right.
which
Can
is
you imagine?
insane.
Yeah. Times 5 years or how, it's going to be awesome.
It's
But
just
that's what
like,
happens though, whenever two moms come together, even though they are just stay at home moms. I mean, the internet is an amazing thing. Social media can be an
yeah,
amazing tool. And I love that we are using our talents, our God given talents of the way we are. I used to think like there was something wrong with me because I was just go, 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 go. Like my
yeah,
mind just goes all the time. And just, but there's nothing wrong with me. That's just how God made me. And he
yeah,
made you very similar, which is very
yeah,
fun because when two moms come together and um, embrace those talents, they can inspire other women. They can create businesses together. They can do these things for themselves that don't take a lot of time, but that can make them have this extra energy and excitement for homemaking and their family. Like it's the
exactly.
coolest thing ever.
It's
It
so
really is.
cool.
It
Yeah,
is so cool.
it's so cool.
Yep. And I know women are watching this and they're saying, yay, that's great, but I am not entrepreneurial. I don't need a business from home. I like just am a stay-at-home mom and that's okay. Like that
I
is
think that
okay.
that's honestly incredible.
Yeah.
And I hate it when moms say that, because they do, and
Yeah.
I have.
Because they
Is,
compare. Moms do that. We just do that.
well, we're never going to be good enough, honestly. I mean,
Right.
in our own minds, which is
I
like
know.
this, that's another thing that's a problem with society today. I
Yes.
think it's like, just relax. Can you give us a
Yeah.
break? Because like, you're beautiful, you're skinny enough, I promise. You're smart enough. Like everything you're doing is enough. You're doing enough.
Yeah. Put it on your forehead. Yeah. You are enough. And don't
um,
compare.
but like, I know before we started Kaya and Cash, like I was so happy and excited that my biggest project was decorating like the house or preparing for the baby or organizing the pantry or making sure that like our Christmas tree looked the way that I wanted it to look. Like I was so proud of that. And there is so much pride in setting the tone for your family. I'm a huge believer that we as moms and wives set the tone for your family. If you're going to have a peaceful, happy, cohesive family, I think that that comes from the mom and the relationship that you have with your husband, or your partner and your children. And I think that, you know, if you're a chaotic, like all of that, the mom dictates the tone. And I think that, you know, filling your own cup, taking care of yourself, but taking pride in the fact that you are just this huge cog in that wheel is so pivotal. You know, he may be the head, but you're the neck, and you can turn it however you see. And it's just so, and I think it's such an incredibly important position and role that nothing else is more important, not even our businesses. And you and I have even said that from the get-go. If at any time it interferes with that role for either one of us, then things go on pause. And
You're
that
so
just
right. And I noticed that too when I went from being full time working outside the home to a homemaker, full time stay at home mom. I did find so much joy in little things. Like I did find joy in, like, you know, reorganizing the kitchen or remodeling a bedroom. Like it was so much fun. And I felt silly at first because I'm like this brought me so much joy and so much excitement. Like this is
yes,
really beautiful. But you can find joy in those little things. And you're right. Like I took a screenshot of this before the podcast today, but it says a nurture, like we are a nurturer of children and the shaper of an environment in which they can grow, thrive, and flourish. And it says we are the creative artists of the highest degree. And I'm like, I love that because it is so true. Like we get to create an environment, whether it's, you know, whether it doesn't matter if it's you know what your decorating style is, or I mean everybody is different, but our home, the feel of our home, whatever that feel is, whether it's, you know, disorganized and crazy, I mean whatever works for your family, but or if it's you know, calm and comfortable, that our family gets to come home to and recharge and be together, and we get to shape our family so that they are able to go out into the world. And I think
mm-hmm.
that is like such a gift, such a blessing, and just such an
Absolutely.
amazing like God design. I just feel honored to be a homemaker. I really do.
Oh, me too. A
Yeah.
thousand percent. I feel so lucky and fortunate. Sorry, I keep messing with my hair. It's hot.
Yeah. You're in Florida.
It's the humidity is just, and
Yeah.
being 9 months pregnant, forget it. Oh,
It's all good.
um, no, but I just think that the joys of, I've always wanted to be a mom and a homemaker, and I love it. I love it. I love seeing the smiles on my kids' faces. I love having the time to be able to actually like truly focus on creating incredible memories with the family, and making my husband happy too. Like I like being able to provide like the happiest days that I
Yeah.
can for him and for the kids, and it makes me happy. But
And it's a fun challenge too. Like so I used to think that, I mean, way before kids, I thought that it would be easy to maintain a home and just be a stay-at-home mom. Like that would be easy. It is not easy at all, but it is a challenge, but a fun challenge because I love also trying to create an environment so when my husband comes home, that maybe I quickly do a 5 minute pickup and we have dinner ready. And I mean, this doesn't happen every day, but I try to do that so that when he comes home, it is calm and quiet and he does have food and we can just sit and visit. But it's a challenge for me to do that, you know. And when the kids are at school, I love having that challenge of, okay, I'm going to make their beds today, so when they come home, their beds are made and their room is picked up, and I have a snack ready for them. And that may not happen every day
yeah,
too, but it's a fun challenge for me to try to get all my things done so that I'm able to do that for them. And it's
right.
so I find fun little challenges for myself within being a homemaker. And sometimes it doesn't get done. I mean, when you have small children, it's just the day can take its own shape.
Well,
And
and
you,
that's the
yeah,
beautiful thing about having a very healthy relationship and dynamic as well, is like I know my husband isn't going to jump down my throat if I don't have a certain thing done a certain way, or like there's understanding that he has and love for me. And he knows if he comes home and he
You
sees
did the
me
best you could.
a little stressed out, he'll step in and be like, okay, let me give the kids a bath. Let me take, like, he'll help me. And I hate saying that helping me because he's their father too. So he's just parenting his
I
children.
get it. Yes.
But
He stepped over and gets in your role more
yeah,
than
and
anyone.
he just,
Yeah.
he goes out of his way to make my life easier. And there's a beauty in that, and that he's not going, like, that's another thing that to go back to the wife submissive to her husband. I just think that if you have the right marriage and you have the right relationship and mutual respect, there's not going to be this like fighting.
Yes, I completely agree. I completely agree. My kids just got home from church camp. They're all sitting
Oh
here
my
waiting for me to talk
goodness.
to them. They're so excited.
Oh, okay. Well, let's wrap it up
But
there.
yes, and I think we have covered everything that we wanted to cover. We've talked a lot about just different what homemaking looks like in different settings, and just how the job of homemaker is a beautiful role, and it's something that has been made to be twisted a little bit
Yeah.
than I think the beauty that it is and that it was intended to be
Yeah.
biblically.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we've covered all those things.
Yes.
And one other thing that came to mind really quick is what you just said about, like, you always wanted to be a homemaker. I can remember when I was a little kid playing with my dolls and playing with my Barbies, just dreaming. My dog's excited to see the kids. Just dreaming of this day, like this exact
Yeah.
moment when I got to be a wife and a mom. And so sometimes, especially on days where it is hard and nothing is going as planned and everything's, not as I wanted it to be, I think back and remind myself that, like, this literally is a dream come true. Like,
Absolutely.
even the hard days, like, this is what you wanted. This is a dream come true. And it changes my perspective instantly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't
Yeah.
agree more.
All right.
That's a
I think
great
we've
place to end
covered.
it.
I think so too. All right. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will talk next time.
Yep. See you
Bye.
soon. Bye.